Hey, it's Jordan. I am in Racine, Wisconsin, about 45 minutes or so from Milwaukee. And we're here covering the election, stories that are not being covered in mainstream media. But sometimes there's just characters in the local community that could really tell you the truth on what's really going on in these states that do not have a team blue hat or a team red hat on, that could tell you, level with you, that they're all full of shit and they're all crooks. Joining me at the young age of 82, Chester Todd, running for the Green Party congressional seat in the 1st District. Mm-hmm. Pete, campaign manager, and you will be running.
Yeah, I'm running for Secretary of State in 2026.
So before we get to anything, tell me about Racine, because I wasn't aware this is one of the worst cities for the African American community in the country.
Mm-hmm. In 2017, 24/7 marketing agency, where are they located? New York, I think, rated Racine as number 4, as the 4th worst city in the country for black residency. Milwaukee was then number 3. Then it moved up the next year. We moved up a notch. And then finally, Milwaukee became number 1, and we became number 2. Now, recently, in the last message we had from them, we're still number 2. Milwaukee's dropped probably to 3 or 4. But to be number 2 for the last 2 years, the 2nd worst city in the United States for black residency, in the number 1 state in the nation for worst for black residency. This state locks up more blacks per capita than any state in the United States. Probably followed by Oklahoma, probably. Who in the hell black lives in Oklahoma? I don't know. Cowboys. They got there on a Trail of Tears or something. I don't know. But I came here at the age of 9 in 1951. And blacks then, because of the industry, this was heavy. It was impossible not to have a job. You lose a job here, before you could get to your car, the guy across the street come over and say, hey, we need your help. And they were importing blacks. Hell, I know I wrote an article once about how the manufacturers here used to, not only here, but Milwaukee, they'd send buses down south to get workers. And, of course, I got Mike and some of those other whites that have been here for years. They were in denial. They said, no, that never happened. Bullshit. I know it happened, And the thing is, they go get these people and they work them in the foundries, but they lived back in them days, right before I came here, blacks lived in trailer camps, rat-infested trailer camps. And then the NAACP under, I think it was Corrine Owens, maybe Blue Jenkins, these are old names, people long dead, long forgotten, or not forgotten by people like me. They petitioned the city and whatever, and eventually they got to move into the some of the lower class neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. I remember my parents as my stepfather and my mother as I grew. They would move from house to house. Now, when we got to a point to where we were going to buy property, my mom and stepdad, or my dad, as far as I'm concerned, we always bought in a white neighborhood. I don't know if they brought that with them inside. That might have been their way of rebelling, because they weren't like me, Malcolm X. They were, not, well, they'd been through so much. My mother was born in 1910. I don't know when my stepfather was born. My father was born in 1907. And so we'd always buy in a white neighborhood. I remember the first time we bought, the people would walk across the street. They get up to our house and they cross the street and they walk past and then they come back across the street. And I'd stand out there and laugh like, you idiots, what's wrong with you, you know? Because my old man, he would kill himself. Cut the grass, cut the grass, cut the grass. Trim the lawn, you know, because he wanted to be respected in the neighborhood.
Right.
And, man, but they didn't know. My mother knew that what she was raising was a Malcolm. She knew that because she used to tell me, you're just like your father, you know, because my dad, he, although we lived in Mississippi, now this is my biological father, who they had divorced, he didn't take no crap. You know, she told me, although we lived in the South, nobody called him nigger, nobody called him boy, you know, nobody, white or black. If you wanted a good ass whooping, my old man would give it to you. I guess he worked in the government clay mines back in World War II, and they had donkeys that would pull the carts out. And his donkey wouldn't move one day, and he pulled the donkey's tongue out. Wow, my old man was something.
So you moved up here, and you worked for a while in Milwaukee.
Yeah, well, now, don't forget I was 9.
Yeah.
All right. 17, I went in the Navy because it was racist here. It was racist, you know. Not so much that you couldn't walk down the street, but there were no blacks in downtown, period. You know, I mean, you can go down there and pay a bill, but that was about it. Nobody worked down there. There were no black shops, nothing, no black janitors, no nothing down there. And so at 17, I went in the Navy to escape the racism and run right into it in the Navy.
Yeah.
I was on a ship with 600 people, 11 black on the ship. And we got called the word nigger every day. I did. And I fought every day. Every time I heard it, I fought. Whether it was an officer, there was no black officers, so it could be an ensign or a lieutenant. If you used the word we're fighting, I didn't care. The court martials came my way. Anyway, I got out with a general discharge 2 years after I went in. Came back here. By this time, I'm heavy into drugs because I had used drugs to cover up the pain. And at an early age like that, that was carriage, too. You know, that was carriage. Lasted for over 30 years till I was 47. April 4th, 1989 was the last time I shot any heroin or cocaine. I'd been shooting for years. Developed Hep C, destroyed half of my liver. I've been living with liver cancer for 14 years now. Thank God for the VA. You know, might not be universal health care, but it damn sure helps me, you know.
But that's what everyone should have.
Everybody should have it.
Right.
Israel got it. We've been paying for their universal health care since 1995.
Right.
And these idiots don't understand that. And pardon me, I don't mean to offend, but Jesus Christ, how can I give you something and I can't have it? You know, I mean,
Well, let's get to that because, I mean, we're in Milwaukee the last day or two. It's like Detroit. It's like Cleveland, Flint. I mean, 10 blocks are beautiful.
yeah,
And then you go 10 minutes down the road, and it's ugly.
yeah,
And the bumper stickers in the election, you got For the People,
yeah.
Kamala, you got Make America Great Again.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see them coming here to Racine.
No,
I don't see either of them
No.
focus on these. And I don't really see, I mean, every election, I'm told, is the most important election of our lifetime.
Mhm.
But what are either of them going to do about the police budgets through the roof, gentrification, prices? I mean, obviously that's why you're running as a Green.
right. But see, and we were, right before we started this, I was going into that. It's strange. Now, Vice President Harris, you come to Wisconsin, you go to basically the white areas, in which I understand it. I'm not an idiot. I know you got to have those votes, and you have got to prove to these people that you're the type of Negro that will be in favor of what they want. And this is not condemnation upon all white people, but I'm simply saying when I see this lady running for vice president and she tells a black interviewer that is she going to do anything that would be for black people only? No. She said that. I saw that. And so I'm saying, well, then if I was going to vote for you, you just changed my damn mind. They were discussing reparations. And, of course, here again, and I know I flipped a little bit, but here again, you approached them about reparations, the Democrats. Now, we know you're not going to go to the Republicans about that. That's bullshit. They don't want to hear that. But you would think that the Democratic Party by now would have solved that issue to a point that they could talk about it. They can't even talk about it. Well, we're going to now we're going to have a commission, and then we're going to get a committee, and all these black people in Milwaukee who she don't even care to visit. She won't go over to the 53206, the worst zip code probably in the nation. I worked there for 8 years. Poverty, I'd never seen poverty like that in my life.
He was just there 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad.
Over there on Burl Eye, Chambers, all of that. All of that is just, man, homelessness. And then you got people just walking around lost. But she don't care to go there. Democrats don't go there. Okay?
You know, Chester, even your opponent, Democratic opponent, Peter Barco, won't talk about it. And what we did is we put together these signs all over the neighborhoods throughout the district.
Yeah.
The urban areas, Racine, Kenosha, Beloit, and they're up, and it embarrasses the hell out of them because they don't know how to respond to that. They know how to respond to, you know, whatever the Republican supposedly says and play these little games.
Mm-hmm.
But the Democrats, they can't talk about real issues to real people.
No, they, because I guess when you lie so damn much, you know, the point where I want to go, though, is that all these black people in Milwaukee and in Racine and in Kenosha are going to vote for this lady purely because she's black. I got over that with the Obama years. See, because I stopped voting for Democrats in 90, the first campaign of Clinton. I said, bullshit, I'm not voting for a Southern white boy.
You mean him playing the saxophone?
Yeah, well, he's black. Come on, he's black. You know, I mean, it's crazy how they got black people so bamboozled. I love black folks. I've fought all my life for my people. But then if an 82-year-old man who, with a master's, I got a master's after I sobered up, okay? And it took me 11 years to go from a high school equivalency to a master's degree. I worked my butt off, and only because I knew I could do it. I had to prove to myself.
And by the way, credit to you for overcoming the addiction and all this.
Yeah, I give it, as you know, I give it all to God because I wasn't ready to quit. But I was a single parent with 4 daughters, which I have 6, and I was carrying that weight of the addiction on my back plus working, and it was hell, you know. But I put 7 months into reforming myself, bringing myself back. Took a lot of people that I can't even call their names now, who has entered my life to keep me going, you know. I had an older white guy that I used to go to the AA meetings. I got to tell this story. He deserves it. And the minute we seen each other, we hated each other. And I was like 50, maybe somewhere like 50, had a butch haircut, WW2. And ever since I was 13, I had a third-year college-level reading capacity. So I got, like, at that time, damn near a photographic mind. I could speed read, and I didn't forget anything. So I could recite all the literature, the AA literature in the meetings. I was that arrogant son of a bitch. You're not going to make it, you know. And the old guy would sit there and he'd look at me like, you fool. So no one would sponsor me in the club because I was so arrogant. So I went up to Harry one day and said, Harry, would you sponsor me? You goddamn right, you damn idiot. I said, oh, Jesus. He sponsored me for 12 and a half years.
Wow.
He'd been sober 18 years when I met him. And he saved my life. He saved my life. He made me take a look at Chester, you know. Although I was sober from the drugs, I wasn't sober here,
right.
You know. And I called him, I'll never forget one day, I said, Harry, I got a problem. He says, look at the black guy in the goddamn mirror, don't call me no more. And from that point on, I began, with the help of the steps and everything, I began to evolve, you know. And I say that with no shame. I'm only human, and I've dropped a lot of my bigotry, which blacks can't be racist, but we can be bigots. And with what I went through all my life, I figure I earned the right to be a bigot to some extent. But I found out, like the first time I met Jill Stein, that was March 21st. We were over at the Jacobin Center, and that was a highlight of my life. But in our audience, we had some whites. And I said, I know in the audience, there's some white people whose table looked like mine. No food. At least when Trump was in, and I'm by no means a Trumper, but I had 2 freezers full of food, and something's wrong. And then when someone stands up from this administration and say, well, ground beef's up 50%. You idiot, it's your damn administration. Why are you, I don't know.
So for you, because obviously most people don't run for the first time, in their 80s. You decided to run basically because you see past the whole rah-rah team blue, rah-rah team red. Because a lot of people say, Jordan, why are you interviewing a Green Party, or you're going to help Republicans, this and that. But the way I look at it is I make no bones. I'm certainly not a Trump supporter, but I also can't lie to the audience that things are going to get materially better. I mean, Kamala Harris, we were talking about it. We're driving, and I see billboards on the highway. Kamala Harris supports raising the minimum wage.
Yeah.
To what?
Well, yeah.
Right.
How?
Right.
I just see a lot of bumper stickers and slogans for the people.
Yeah.
Well, so it's interesting. We were just in Detroit, and we went to the National Action Network rally, which is Sharpton's whole gig, and I was expecting to meet rah-rah Harris people, and I met 2 older black women who have been lifelong Democrats.
Yep.
And they're both considering Trump.
Yes.
Not particularly for anything about Trump. They're just so fed up with the gentrification and the Democrats run their city, and they're just kind of fed up.
Yeah. One thing that really made me pick up this mantle is I want black people to know you don't have to vote for these. It's like if you ever went to a circus and you seen this elephant and it's tied to this pole, and you say, well, why in the hell don't the elephant just move its foot, break the chain, and run away? That's because the elephant is raised from a baby tied to a tree. So it's accustomed to being tied. That's what black people are to the Democratic Party. They come in the area 2 to 4 years, depending if it's midterm or the big one, and they say, we're gonna do this. And we sit back and never question, how are you gonna do it? you know, police reform. Yeah, well, I wonder how you were going to do police reform under Joe Biden, who is actually a goddamn cop himself. I mean, you go back to 93, to the Senate floor, when he gave that speech, he all but said we're locking up every black person we can. And then my opponent, one of my opponents, Peter Brucker, signed that same damn bill. He was appointed to Congress, wasn't he? Made it to the end, made it to the end of the term, and that was it. Now, he gave the same kind of speech, but real passive, you know. The Democrats come to us, they got us bamboozled, they got us smoked out to where we believe anything they say. And I'm not saying black people are stupid, but the way the system is set up, we got to believe in something. I guess you just believe in, I don't know, it just...
Do you, what do you say to the people that's, now's not the time, we can't afford 4 more years of Donald Trump, et cetera, et cetera? I mean, you would clearly say Donald Trump is not a friend to black people either.
No, Donald's not a friend to anybody. You know,
if we're gonna, I hear that. I'm 65 years old. I've never voted for a Republican or a Democrat for president. Right? Every 4 years, I hear that. I hear this isn't the time. This is the most important election of our time. What about the Supreme Court? And nothing has changed. It just keeps going on and on and on. And we have to take a stand. And I really believe, I'll turn it back on them. This is our point in history where we can do it, because we have 2 awful candidates who support an Israeli Zionist machine that is murdering people in the Gaza Strip and now Lebanon, and then who
Just
comes
this
next?
morning, right? They dropped a bomb on a hospital. Yesterday. Yeah.
and it's all by design. They do that.
So we can either vote for a Zionist and vote for a genocider with a R and a D next to the name, or you can vote, for the Chesters and the Jills with a G next to their name.
Now, some of those people that were killed at the hospital or the school, that's collateral damage. That's just collateral damage.
Right.
Let's not get upset about that. Although, if the average American taxpayer could see what those bombs do individually, 50-foot crater, and it destroys and annihilates anything within 4 football fields. Oh, fuck. And that's that's blood on my hand that I didn't put it here. I never voted for any asshole to go out and kill kids and women. And look, if the IDF is that bad, they're not bad as the Turks, because the Turks will go in man to man and find the guy. But the IDF, well, I guess it's easy enough to go in and patrol in a city after you've blown it apart. I'm not giving them no credit. But we get back to the black folks here. Why we vote for the Democrats, I liken it to recovery. You cannot recover from an addiction, a real tight addiction, until you hit rock bottom. All right? So we haven't hit rock bottom, in either race-wise, as blacks looking at the Democratic Party to make a change in our approach. Now, some black guys, from what I see, some black men are beginning to cross over to Trump. And I don't know so much to Trump, to the party, but the party doesn't exist anymore that we know of, that used to be. So we are, the Green Party is the alternative, and we're the solution. If we could sell it to black people, if we could sell it to the country, to some of the people, black or white or brown, that we're the only thing you got. We're the only thing. If you're looking for equality, if you're looking for reparations, liberation, freedom, the only thing, look, the socialistic from a socialistic point of view, the only way you're going to have pure equality inside of a system is got to be social. It's got to be. Therefore, when I go to work over at J.I. Case, I own part of Case. It's an employee-owned company. It's the same way, and if we can get to that point, then we can get to where you and I own part of this country.
Right.
We don't own shit. Look, people walking around and say, I'm free. No, you're not. You're not free. Everything you do is controlled.
Well, how could you be free if your ability to treat your cancer is tied to whether you have a job or not?
Exactly. God knows if I wasn't a veteran, and perhaps that's the only good thing that happened for me out of the Navy, I wouldn't be at the VA hospital. I'd be dead by now. You know, they paid. I had Hep C, which has destroyed half of my liver, and the other half is cancerous. And four of my friends that I used to, over the years, do drugs with, they died from the same strain, but the VA paid like $94,000 for me to clear my system.
Right.
Now, why can't we do that for everybody in the country?
Well, you also look at, I don't know what your thoughts were in 2020, but the one guy, whether you love him or hate him, people knew what Bernie stood for.
Yeah.
Universal health care.
Yes.
And the minute he got within a sniff of the White House, oh my God, MSNBC was having a meltdown.
Yeah.
Chris Matthews was comparing it to the Nazis invading Paris.
Right.
Obama got on the phone and got everyone to drop out.
Yeah.
I mean, this is crazy that what every other less wealthy country in America does as a right of just citizenship. And I wonder about that rock bottom, because Chris Hedges, for example, calls this, late stage empire, basically,
Yeah,
America. And the polarization and the hate. I just think at the end of the day, human psychology is if you feel like you've been beaten down, economically, socially, you're going to revolt. I think that's why Trump won in 2016.
That's what it's about. You know, people say, well, Jill, you, and I love Jill, and well, you're going to be what do they call her?
Spoiler.
A spoiler, yeah. No, what we're doing is throwing out some seeds. You're throwing out some seeds because sooner or later, this thing that was built on a rotten foundation is going to implode. It's imploding now. It's imploding now. You change a whole damn political party, the ideology of a whole party changed in my lifetime. These aren't Republicans that I know, that I grew up with. There was some decent Republicans at one time. There was really some decent people. I'm not saying they were Democrats, but now look what we got over there. And then to match them with the other asses across the aisle, and when you draw that triangle, you see they all go into the same spot, the power and control button over here.
So are you saying there's not really red versus blue, but the color that actually dominates is green?
It's green, with the exception of the Green Party.
Right.
There you go.
So basically, money rules all. Because literally, we could do a documentary. It's the same thing in every city. Detroit, Flint, Chicago, Philly, Cleveland, Milwaukee. 10 blocks have been a paradise.
Yes.
Bars, restaurants, sports stadiums. The people who grew up there can't afford any of it.
No.
And then you drive 10 minutes away. I call it economic terrorism, not gentrification.
That's what it is, yes, sir.
But this is not counted as inflation. Because there's been a 30-year inflation.
Yes.
Gentrification.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just becoming, America really is just becoming a tale of two cities. And it's not just the cities. I mean, rural America now, more expensive.
Suburbs are beautiful, though. I'll tell you, you get a nice lot and a nice subdivision.
Yeah, but the funny thing is,
two-car garage, you know.
Funny thing, you go out to the suburban areas, and they got their little cliques out there in the county over here, but you don't find no black dude running that area. But you can run Milwaukee, where you can die any minute because of the poverty. And I mean, look, if you go to North in the northwest side of Milwaukee. It looks like one gigantic project. Apartment building after apartment building after apartment building. You can't play in the parks because your kid might get killed, you know. And I mean, for whatever reason that violence exists, we say poverty, but then you got to go into a lot of sociological theory and blah, blah, blah.
Well, I'll tell you, I did an interview earlier. A lot of people don't know Milwaukee has some of the worst lead levels in America.
Oh, yeah.
And lead will lead to crime, too.
Oh, most definitely. And here's the odd thing about it. I'm glad you said that. I didn't know this. I was talking to Denise one day. She says, you know what clears up that? I said, what? She says, fresh vegetables. Yeah.
Fresh vegetables?
Vegetables. If you feed your kids fresh vegetables, it'll help clear up that lead. But unfortunately, we got food deserts. You know, so you're not getting no fresh vegetables in the inner core. You know, you catch a bus and ride 5 miles out here.
I mean, look at it. From where we are now, which is uptown Racine, there's absolutely no grocery stores east to the lake, which is a couple miles. And the nearest one is at least a couple miles that way, 3 miles that way. Nothing to the north or south for farther than that.
No.
You know?
You see, they just got,
And is Racine majority black?
no. What is the percentage? 20?
Yeah, 20-some%.
Yeah,
It's another 25% brown.
Yeah, and blacks are just now in 2024, 2023 moving into the downtown area businesses. You know, a few bars, barbecue thing, a restaurant thing down there, and they're just, but I'll show you how rotten this can be. The politics here, not the community. We've got pretty good people in the community, but the politics are so crooked. We have downtown at 7th and Main, there's a big church that has a hospitality center in it. They're open probably every day during the week. I'm not sure. People go down there to eat. Poor people. Not everybody's homeless. Some people just go down and eat. You got homeless veterans. You got white, black, mostly black. So, when was it? Just late last year, I think it was?
Earlier this year.
Earlier this year, a group come up and say, hey, we can't have that down there. I mean, they're going in the library over there, and they're taking dumps over here, and they're smoking down there. And but what you really said, all of that is code for those are poor people, and we don't want them downtown Racine because you're blowing the tourist trade. We had at least 2 black aldermen sign on to that. I'm asking, how could you do that? Yeah.
They're good Democrats.
Yeah.
They're good Democrats.
So it all...
Well, you got Obama allowed millions of people to be foreclosed on.
Yeah.
Right.
And deported quite a few
Exactly.
people, too. Now, you know, and you then... I'm glad you brought that up because some of my heroes turned out not to be heroes. Hakeem Jeffries, I thought, oh, my man. That time he stood up in the Congress and he says, Tim Scott, I dare you talk about our people like that. I said, oh, go, man, go. And then I turned on.
Who was giving him money?
Yeah, then he says, Israel has a right to exist. Yeah, well, you know, maybe they do. I don't deny any human being the right to exist, but not on stolen land. I mean, if we're talking about stolen land, to me, all land is land. But if you are going to duplicate what the Europeans did here, it all ties in. Now you got this little piece of land and all of this over here, you got control of this. But you won't let the people leave over there, but they can't come in over here, and you got control of their water. Whoa! Their water and their electricity. What is that? That is ridiculous. And how can we as Americans stand by and watch that? How can the world stand? I got a question that I have posed in some of my writings. What are the Arabs scared of? You know, aren't you going to back your brothers and sisters? Yeah, well, I see some missiles going over there, and now, hell, I'm going to end with that. I'm not going to that because people will say I'm nuts. But I fight fire with fire.
Well, you know, kind of curious because you look at the state of the country now, and I just feel like it's Groundhog's Day.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm obviously younger, and I started paying attention in 2004. Bush versus Kerry, and they told me that was the most important election of my lifetime. And then 2008 was the most important election. And now 2016 we had to fight fascism, and 2020 we have to fight fascism, 2024. But at the end of the day, I just keep seeing that chart with the money going up.
Going up.
Like it's a grand bank robbery of the last 50 years.
Well, hey.
I'm not saying, I mean, I think Trump is awful. But the core, America is just one Gilded Age, really.
Yes.
And I think that's why so many people, young people, black voters, Hispanics, a lot more are moving over to Trump. It's not even because of Trump necessarily. It's just people are fed up with, they don't feel like they're being represented anymore.
Well, if we had, if the Greens did not have a media blackout, where we just totally ignored, a lot of the people would know about the Green Party. I was in Mount Horeb, which is a couple hours west of here today, guest speaker at a high school class talking about the Green Party. It's pretty cool. Every 4 years they have an elective you can take.
Yeah.
And they've been studying the Green Party for the last week, you know? And before that...
I'm surprised the school even allows that.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
Don't tell the moms of Liberty that.
It's a small town in southwestern Wisconsin. So it's really cool. The kids I asked them how much do they know about the Green Party beforehand. They said they'd never heard about it. A lot of people have never heard about it because, you know, unless you're younger and on, you know, TikTok or older on Twitter, you just don't run into it.
Well, the black kids up there at Whitewater, we were at Whitewater a few days ago. The black kids up there, they didn't know anything about it.
Right, UW
Right. You know,
it's crazy. Now they may hear about it because the Harris campaign is writing attack ads against Jill Stein.
Yeah, the first attack ad, which would tell you that maybe they think Jill Stein could put a dent in their chances.
They offered me money in a way. They didn't give me a price.
Who's they offered you money?
Some of the players in the community, Democratic players, you know, who, by the way, friends of mine, said, well, what do you think it'd take for you to drop out? Well, actually, by you being a friend of mine, I think that's an insult because you know me. You know, my convictions, I stick with them, you know, and I'm not for sale, you know. Number one, I'd tell one guy, I said, you don't have enough money for that. I wouldn't. This party, and true enough, and I get this thrown at me all the time, where you're with a whole bunch of white people because you're the only black in the party in Wisconsin. You don't know. I'm with the party that I believe can actually give you progression towards equality. I'm not saying this party is the end of all, but you would certainly have more equality as a black person and as a disenfranchised white or brown if you voted green. If you just got 2 or 3 of us in there in the country. And look, the collaboration between both parties and the Presidential Debate Commission to keep us off the stage should be enough to prove to people how crooked.
Well, not just off the stage, off the ballot.
Off the ballot. Oh,
they try. The amount of money Democrats and Republicans are spending to keep Greens off the ballot.
I'm the first Green to make it in this on the ballot in this district. I'm the first black to ever be on this.
Wow.
And it's never been mentioned in no media. None.
George, you mentioned suing to get us off the ballot. Of course, we went through that in Wisconsin. And went to the Supreme Court, and then it got kicked around after that.
You're talking about Jill Stein.
Yes, with Jill Stein. We made it really clear to the Democrats. In fact, the first phone call, because they couldn't find who to serve, was to me from the Democratic lawyer. And I pointed out that if the Democrats go through with this, we will be running candidates. We will run a slew of candidates in 2026, and we will be targeting purple districts.
Yes.
And if they don't like it, they can pass ranked choice voting. We're going after them. I mean, they're coming after us. I believe, and I think it's pretty obvious, with ballot access, with attack ads, they're trying to eliminate the Green Party.
Yes,
Well, what's interesting to me, I don't know what you think as a black man in America about this whole democracy thing. Because I don't really think it's such a healthy democracy. But their theme is democracy at the line, yet they're doing everything humanly possible to eliminate choices.
Yes.
I mean, we know what they did to Matthew Ho in North Carolina.
Yes.
I don't care if you think Trump is Lucifer, but you either are for democracy or you're not.
Exactly.
And the fact of the matter is, if you can't convince people to vote for you, that's on you.
Right.
Right, exactly. Why anybody, as Americans, we should be able to see that two parties is not really, that's not covering the whole spectrum. You got to have at least 3 or 4 different parties to elect from. Look, democracy implies that the majority rules. So we got this party here, and it gets elected, and so then what happens to everyone else out there? Where's their say-so? What party have you got in this thing?
And you could argue that it's not 2 parties, it's 1 party.
Right, but then we divert back to that old word capitalism. From the colonies to today, it's got you screwed.
Well, I'd love your thoughts, because Martin Luther King happened to be assassinated not when he was talking about civil rights, but when he started talking about capitalism and jobs.
Hey, do you not look? There's powers way up there that have you ever watched on YouTube? I think it is The Men Who Built America.
Yep.
Frightening. Especially, I think it's the 4th segment where they show how the presidency was bought, how they bought this one governor to the side, and I said, these are the Rockefellers.
Be careful, you're going to get me kicked off YouTube.
The Rockefellers and they're changing this damn money, and I sat there and I said, that's the way it's done. Of course, my sociology professor, when I started college, I was like 50. And this old guy, he was sharp, man. He had like 12 years in a monastery. He wrote and spoke 7 languages fluently, and he was something. And he told me, he says, 2 things you got to remember in America: money and land. If you don't have access to those, forget it. You're out. And so that's why I wonder how all these middle-class people walk around thinking that they got a part in this system. They don't have you play a part in the system.
I would actually, even though you are my elder and I respect you, I would argue, even if you have land, you're screwed.
Yeah.
You see what's going on?
Oh,
I mean, if you're in Flint, if you're in East Palestine, if you're in the wrong city at the wrong place, and your water's poisoned, or your air's poisoned, or your soil's poisoned, or fracking, or...
Hey, now she changed her mind on fracking and
right.
you know.
But I'm saying, you could own a house, you could own land, but we have sacrifice zones all over America.
Yeah. Oh, here we had a Foxconn. Oh, God.
Literally, it was a con.
It was
a con. Literally a con.
There's a book that my life stories in that book is called Foxconn. and a gentleman out of Madison wrote the book, and he interviewed me and Gardner for it, and it explains what happened. You know,
It was horrible. They took.
did
they
my
came up with
opponent vote for Foxconn?
this- Yeah. Well, right. So
And by the way, that was Trump who gave this company, I mean,
Yep.
millions and millions of dollars in free
and
money.
the state needed to pass it too, so all the Republicans were for it. The Democratic Assembly leader, who is Peter Barca, who is Chester's opponent,
Democrat.
flipped, voted for it.
Of course.
He lost his assembly leadership position for it, but I'm sure he
Let me
would.
tell you how dirty the Democrats did. Sure. Young man here in Racine, young black man who declared that he was going to run for this position in CD1. He's went to the Naval Academy, 35 years old. Let's see, Naval Intelligence. Now, it was him and the incumbent, right? Everybody black, the little uppity blacks said, "Oh, get behind Lorenzo." Okay, so fine. One day, they come along and say, "Well, Lorenzo, you can move to the side. We're going to get this white guy named Peter Barker out of Kenosha to run." So I'm talking to the young man. I'm saying, "Look, you got to be careful. You're playing a game that is not. We're not meant to play this game. We're black people. It's not our culture, instinct to play this dirty type of game. Watch yourself, man." And I'll be quite frank with you and the audience. I said, "These are white people you're messing with, man. This is something they invented. You got to be careful." And they slid him right out and put the white guy in his place, all right? Now, then what the kid did was turned around and threw his support behind the guy that kicked him in the butt. And so when he called me and we were talking, I said, "Well, I'm very sorry they did that to you." I said, "But what really makes me feel bad is that you sold your manhood down the drain. You're supposed to be a man, and you're supposed to be a black man, and we don't fold like that. We don't do that. But I have to allow for this. What was a black man back then, when I was coming up, is not the same as today." Give you a great example. Got a kid in my neighborhood, about 19, 20 years old, just moved up here out of Chicago. We were sitting there one day on the porch, and I says, "If you'd been at the George Floyd site with the cop with the knee on his neck, what would you have done?" "Nothing." "Hey, you would have stood there and watched that man die?" "Yeah, that's his problem." I said, "Well," so I asked my grandson. I got 29 grandkids and almost 20 great grandkids, right?
You say you got 29 grandkids?
Yeah, in fact, I just lost one.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. So I asked one of my grandkids, he's 22, I believe, and he's been around me all his life. He knows what I'm about. You know, hey, you don't let the system kick you like that. Stand up, be a man, you know, be a man. When I grew up, that's what the old black guys used to tell us, be a man above all things. And I asked him, he says, "Oh no, Grandpa, that's George. That would have been his problem." I said, "But in my day, there would have been 3 or 4 of us laying dead there because we'd have rushed the cop, you know." So the loyalty is gone. There's a rap song that said, "These guys ain't loyal," you know. So now I know, and I was a counselor for years working with people in parole and probation, and I knew the answer already before I watched a kid, because I've been watching these guys, these young guys, become more and more self-centered, selfish, you know. But here again, it's all about capitalistic behavior. It's all for me and nobody else, you know. And that's a shame. So when we as black people start talking about equality, hell, we better start looking inside, you know. So you want equality to do what? Not to advance the race, but to advance yourself. And when we start thinking like that as a racial group or any other group culturally, that's poison. Something's wrong.
I know you got to go soon, so real quick.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw former President Obama had a message for, as he called it, the brothers.
Yeah.
He told the brothers he thinks that any of the black men that are going over to Trump, it must be because they don't want a woman president. Not that you speak for all black men, but I'm curious what you thought of that.
Well, I didn't expect anything else from him. I voted for Obama because I never thought I'd see that happen. You know, a black president, a black male president. And from my point of view, I wish we'd have went and elected women before this. Not necessarily Hillary, but I think it's time for other countries that tried it. But for him to have the audacity to come to black men and expound that when he hasn't grown up like I did, you know, he got a lot of nerve talking like that to me. Number one, this is a democracy, isn't it? And I'm supposed to have the right to vote for who I want to without being criticized. So he just broke number one rule, you know. That's the way I look at it. And I know them guys are looking at him like, cause see, it's a different type of young black guy today. He don't give a shit what you say. You gotta be someone like me, or and I don't mean to do this, but you gotta have this in you to where you can look another brother in the eye and say, hey, look, let me really show you what's happening, man. He hasn't done that. He has never sat down and just said, here, look at this. This is what's going on. Mm-hmm. Be fair. Be straight. Come on. If I was him or any other politician, black politician, I would love to sit down and sit with black people and say, this is what's happening. My party, the Democratic Party, has been bamboozling you for quite a few years. I'm here today as a Democrat to straighten that out. Not only am I going to work on the inner city or the poor whites over here, but I'm going to work inside the party to move it, you know. None of these guys, Jasmine Crockett, thought she was, I said, oh man, this sister, man. Israel had, oh God. And then same thing happened with Hakeem. I thought he was, and that's where I was going before, when he come out and says, you know, let's drop some more bombs. I said, wow. I got Democratic friends here in Racine, black guys, who condemn me for being pro-Palestine. I said, how could you? Well, you care more about them than you do you. I said, look at my history. I'm the only one, well, one L, probably Al and I, a friend of mine, Al Gardner, have stood tall in this community. I mean, we have taken abuse, and people talk about us, you know, and laugh. But we have stood up. There's other guys too. You know, I don't just to make it mean to make it about Al and I, but then there's been more phonies than there's been real. You know, more self interest. About that time.
About that time. I'd be a really bad campaign manager if I didn't say, folks, if you like what Chester says, visit him at chestertodd.org. We are running TV commercials, streaming TV commercials. We did a buy for, sounds like a lot, like $150,000 for streaming, so for a few $1,000s. We're looking to expand that. We've got some other ones coming. If you'd like to donate, chestertodd.org is a great place to go. If you want to see our commercials, follow us on Twitter, ChesterToddWI.
And I'm going to have to talk to you another time because I think we need a few more hours for your life story.
There you go.
The thing is, if you vote for me, just remember, it's not about Chester. It's about the party. I thoroughly believe in our platform, and I believe in Jill Stein. I believe in Jill Stein. I know a real person when I see him, and she is real. She's the real deal, you know. So I'd ask each and every person, go on the website of the Green Party and read. Just take 2 or 3 days, take a week and read the platform, and you'll see it's so simplistic that it makes sense.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let me talk to the audience for a minute. So this is our, 5th interview of the day? Whew, it's been a long day. A lot of the interviews we've been doing, we recorded, so we'll be trying to get them out over the next few days, both the interviews we did in Pennsylvania, the interviews we did in Michigan, and here today. We have focused, I believe, on the stories that actually matter to voters that the media ignores, covers up, buries. These are not the sexy stories. These are not the stories that go viral, but these are the stories that actually matter to living, breathing human beings in the states and cities that will decide who's the next president. Yeah, we've seen a lot of things. I mean, did a heartbreaking interview in Kalamazoo, Michigan yesterday. Get your Kleenex ready for that. We've had inspiring people. We're trying to do it how we always do it, which is real and authentic. It's a lot of work because it's 2 people trying to do the work that typically, 3 people, including Colin. Typically, we'd have about 9 or 10 people on something like this, which is a 3-state swing state reporting trip. I'm literally driving while trying to book the next interview. So it's a lot. But please support us if you can. As a member, statuscoup.com/join. Become a member for $5 a month. And please donate if you can. Statuscoup.com/donate. These trips cost a lot of money between food, gas, hotels, equipment. Hell, hotel parking is another scam. $50 a night. Don't even get me started. So please support us. $5 a month. That's 16 cents a day. Statuscoup.com/join. Statuscoup.com/donate. If you got to go, no problem. I'm just going to, I want to read the super chats. Thank you. Mark Lane, $4.99. End the Federal Reserve, #BDS. Mark Lane, $1.99. Greens bring the issues, not the tissues. Welcome new Status Coup member Val. Welcome new YouTube member M. Donations, Ria donated $5. Thank you. God bless and Godspeed. Jack donated $50. Thank you, Jack. Thank you for everything for the southern states. I follow you all on Twitter. Viva donated $60. Thank you to everyone. Listen, I'm going to keep it real. On these trips, we seek to grow at least 50 to 100 paying members. To do 3 states and all these cities, it's costing us between $4 and $5 grand by the end of it. This is a 10-day trip. Obviously, you have eyes and ears. There are not other national media outlets doing these kind of reporting trips. The campaign coverage, they're just covering the daily horse race, polls, and bullshit. They're not covering gentrification. They're not covering police brutality. They're not covering cities selling out to real estate developers. They're not covering water being poisoned all over the country. They're not covering multi-billion-dollar packaging companies literally gassing a poor black community in Michigan with the help of the Democratic governor. They're not covering most of what matters. We are. So I'm really sincerely asking you, if you're not yet supporting us financially, please do, because if we don't advocate for ourselves, no one else will. If you don't advocate for ourselves, if we're not asking for your support, we're not going to get it. And we want to continue to be able to do this reporting, and most importantly, we want to hire other people. There's only so much we could do with 3 people trying to do the job that normally 10 would be doing. So please, please support us. Statuscoup.com/join. No, not please. Do it. Do it. Statuscoup.com/join. $5 a month is, you can become a member as low as $5 a month, and we do members calls with our members every month, once a month. We also do behind the scenes videos for members. We've been putting out behind the scenes videos from this reporting trip. So please, please help us if you can. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything. Do it. I think I got everything. But I'll tell you, as John could tell you and as Colin could tell you, I'm an anxious ball on the road because I see shit. We are spending a ton of money on hotels, food, gas, everything, and I'm only seeing a few donations. I'm only seeing a couple of member signups. And then, like, it's just manna from God, if there is a God. Somebody pulls through and donates like $1,000 or something like that. Or for some reason we start getting, a lot of members sign up one given day. So I'm hoping that still happens. But listen, bottom line, if you want us to continue to be able to do this, I need your help. It's as simple as that. I need your help. There is 99% of the other networks and channels are sitting in a studio blowing smoke out of their ass. We're actually out here covering what I believe matters. So please support us if you can. Yeah. I believe that's it. I think we got everything. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.